Dan Bustamante, a YouTuber named, or a YouTube account, Dan Bustamante. He's got a hat there. Looks like a veteran. Dan Bustamante, 11 days ago, had wrote these words. I was a cellmate in Costilla County Jail with David DeLotta for 10 days. Here's what I know from our conversations. David DeLotta was struggling. His car had broke down. $30,000 almost gone from the floor to move. He's not working. He was licensed to have a concealed weapon, and he was armed that day with a pistol. He was caring for his mother, living in a tent. David was coming back on foot with a wheelbarrow of supplies from a couple-mile store commute when Omega met him on the road. Omega was with his spouse. Omega offers a lift. David accepted a lift. Wheelbarrow kept falling off the vehicle. This starts initial arguments. Omega drops spouse off at work. Omega asked of his living situation. David was living in a tent on his own property in Blanca. Omega said he had a spare area David could live in. Omega took David and his mother to his property. They had some beers, discussed renting out Omega's living area. Omega brought out a semi-auto rifle and asked David DeLotta if he shoots weapons. Then Omega proceeds to shoot the bottom of his own trailer door. This scares David DeLotta's mom. She asks to get a ride home. David DeLotta somehow is driving one of Omega's vehicles during a back and forth commute to each other's property. Omega's vehicle starts to smoke. Omega becomes angry. David and Omega begin to argue. Omega threatens to rape and burn and kill David's mom and kill David. David attempts to walk away from altercation. David is unaware if Omega has a weapon on him or not. Omega is ready to physically attack David. And David fires one shot at Omega in alleged self-defense. My assessment, David was quiet to himself, exercised, and read the Bible daily in his cell. He was regretful for meeting Omega and fearful of his mother's and his life. So, Ron Bradley, he had said, as far as David having a concealed permit, that's not true. It was taken away in Florida last year. He lost the concealed carry permit along with his security license and his G license to carry on duty. Drugs, alcohol, and guns don't mix well, especially with anger issues. If Mr. Bustamante spent 10 days in a cell with him, he's lucky to be alive. He also asked me, why did I delete my one comment? I didn't delete his comment so he can, write whatever he wants to write again. Try posting it again there, Ron Bradley. So this is all under my one video, David DeLotta. There's a bunch more, circumstantial evidence. But this is the best so far of, the story. This is the only narrative. This is the only narrative that we have. So we could just assume that David DeLotta is going to, claim self-defense. He's going to claim self-defense. Now, there's a saying that, dead man tells no tales. Well, a dead man tells no truth either. So you're not going to be able to figure out anything except for, how Omega was. Apparently, he only fired one shot. He calls 911. There's some things that's working in David DeLotta's favor. But ultimately, you want an objective analysis of the evidence, an objective analysis of the evidence to see what happened. If he fired in self-defense, then he gets acquitted, and then he gets to, continue to live his life. If it was not self-defense, if murder, if there is foul play, if there is, evil intent, then he's going to have to spend some time in jail. He's going to spend a lot of time in jail. So ultimately, right, he's guilty or not guilty. So what's a jury of his peers going to say? 12, of his peers are going to be in a jury box and they're going to look at this evidence. There's, a whole bunch of, there's a 10-step criminal procedure in Colorado. So if you want a good conviction of David DeLotta, you want him to have the best lawyer, and you want him to go through every step of the criminal procedure. So that way you could say he had the best lawyer. He had a preliminary hearing and a dispositional hearing. He had, all these hearings. An evidentiary hearing. He had all these hearings. And so we, essentially gave him the best of the best. He had the best lawyer, went through all the steps, And then when the conviction goes down, you know it's a good, healthy conviction. Now, the prosecution could do the exact same thing. Make sure there's a good, strong prosecutor, and you'll have to gather the evidence. Our jury system, looking at just a couple of the court cases recently, right, with Kyle Rittenhouse and Johnny Depp and that goddamn cop that killed George Floyd. The jury system seems to be working. So apparently when you have 12 people that's, just staring at the issue, paying attention to it, they can figure it out. They could get to a point where they say, okay, this is what it looks like to us. And then, A, B, C, or D is going to happen. This is murder, right? Murder in the second degree. So they're not saying that it's with deliberation. He did it and went over and then went over to the thing. But they are saying that he knowingly and intentionally shot to kill. So, and I don't know what the maximum fine is, but we can assume, lots of money and lots of years in jail. So, and then the crime of violence, you get to double those, sentences. So I'm sure, second degree murder would probably be a crime of violence, but vehicular homicide is not. So who knows? The law is funny that way. Now, let's just talk a little bit about what has been written down here. So what can we glean? Okay, so we already know David DeLotta is going to say it's self-defense. He's going to say it's self-defense. So we know that, right? Now, it doesn't sound, I don't know the point of, when they actually get to the altercation. I also can't tell by this statement how many days or months had gone by. Is this all one day? Are you trying to tell me this all happened in one day? Because, perhaps they knew each other and they had been drinking or something and something had gone down and something went astray. Something went, horribly wrong. Now, Omega, okay, so it does seem suspicious. Okay, so in the very beginning, you got David DeLotta. It sounds like it's all happening in one day. If it all happens in one day, then it's like, God, how did so much shit happen in one day? You just met this guy, and he's driving your vehicle, and now you're getting mad because you're driving and then you were trying to offer him something, a nice spot, but really you weren't offering him any kind of spot because you went crazy. And then, David's mom wanted to get a ride home, and then apparently, okay, you could drive his vehicle, drive her back home with that vehicle, and then just, bring it back. He gets mad about it. They get argued. Oh, damn you. Had to take your mom back to the house, and now you're going to ruin my damn car. You're going to ruin my truck. And then he threatens to rape and burn, kill David's mom and kill David. So that's threatening to do it, right? Is he saying it out loud with a bullhorn, like a mile away? Did he call him? Did he text him? If there is, then that's a paper trail, right? So that could be found out. But threatening to rape and burn and kill, there's no way to tell exactly. But when it comes to David DeLotta, I want him to basically point by point say what happened from, the beginning to the end. Point by point. And I want to make sure it's consistent and then make sure there's, an inherent logic to the whole thing. Because if a person is about to shoot you, you have a right to defend yourself. Now, how far, if a person says, I'm going to, do something bad to you, from a mile away, I'm not for sure. Now, if a person says, they're going to do something bad to you, and then they start charging towards you, if they say they're going to do something, they threaten you, and then they, act upon the threat they do, they're cutting your fence line. They're driving around your house back and forth. They're firing a gun, doing spotlighting. They killed Tecumseh. They killed your little puppy for no goddamn reason because they're right-wing, sick fucking piles of shit. Sick criminal. Okay, so there is a lot of crime that happens in Costilla County. Danny Sanchez is the sheriff. There's only one-party rule. The Democrats essentially run the place, which you would think would make it a better place, but the Republicans, I think they cater to the Republicans because they're conservative and right-wing, so you just have, Danny Sanchez, who either is buddy-buddy with the criminal, the right-wing criminal, sons of bitches, or he's lazy and incompetent. That's the best you could say, is that he's lazy and incompetent. So, yeah, that's, I wonder if, there was ever a phone call before this, and if there was, how long, Okay, so let's see, what else can we say about this? He's a cellmate. He was saying that, he's struggling, right? Just got into Costilla County. They spent about 30 grand, which that sucks, right? And they're just living in a tent. So why did it cost $30,000 moving from Florida to there? Not for sure. Maybe, car broke down, so maybe that was something. He wasn't working, so he's not making any income. And he had a license for a concealed weapon, they said. But even if he didn't have a license they said it took his concealed weapons away in Florida. But, okay, concealed weapon, there's something in Colorado, you have the right to, own a gun. Just like the U.S. Second Amendment, there's a Second Amendment in Colorado. But it also says you have a right to, okay, the exact, I'll just read or say it out loud so Article 2, Section 13 of Colorado's Constitution says you have a right to bear arms in defense of home, person, and property. So home, person, and property. If the person was about to attack him, he says he's threatening him. If that's true, right, threatens to attack him and he thought it was a credible threat, or he threatened to attack him and then he's like rushing or bum rushing or pulls out a gun or, he makes some sort of motion or something that he's going to do it. There's also castle law. So where did this happen? It said he was dead in the middle of the street, in the middle of the road. And so that's interesting. If he was on his own land, then, basically there was a court case where the guy said, get the hell out of here. And the guy didn't. And, made a motion like he was going to, attack him or be belligerent. He was drunk and sleeping. But essentially the guy goes, you got, 5 seconds to get the hell out of here. And the guy's like, get the hell out of here. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, bang, bang, bang. Supreme Court upheld that decision. In your own home, you have castle law. Who was that guy? You didn't know who it was. He was, just tired, drunk, belligerent, acting like he might do something. And so if it was on his own land, he would be, free and clear. So like I said, he's either guilty or not guilty. So we need an objective analysis of the, what's going on. And I wish, the police would actually tell more about what they know about this case, because we're left in the dark. So really all we got is this Dan Bustamante, testimony. And there's a lot of details to it. And I appreciate him actually offering his take. So it looks like to me this all happened in a day. So if it all happens in one day, right, they're not friends. They don't know each other. It happens in one day. So, and then he's, did a wheelbarrow, right? So he goes to a couple miles and he's just pushing the damn wheelbarrow. And you think, oh, hey, this person is just going to offer a ride. It's going to be okay. But then he starts, asking this and doing that. And now he's going to, Mega's with his spouse. So it's like, and then the wheelbarrow keeps on falling off the vehicle. So now David's like, damn, you're, damaging the only wheelbarrow I got. And you got the other things. And that's starting some arguments. Mega drops the spouse off at work. And he's asking about his living situation. And he says he's got a spare area that David could live in. I thought David had bought the land. I thought David DeLotta was living on his own land, living in a tent with his mother, but on his own land. And apparently with his perverted brother, too. And no telling who else. They had some beers, discussed written out Omega's living area. I don't understand the living area, too. Well, I got a spare area, a living area, so a living room, a bedroom. Well, you could sleep under my truck. I'll dig a nice little... Sounds like a bunch of bullshit is what it sounds like. Omega is pretending to be fucking nice to fuck this David DeLotta over. I don't know. It's the way it's feeling like to me. Hey, can I give you a lift? Why don't you take your wife back home? I'll keep on pushing, and if you want to come back, that's fine. Then they were drinking beers, right? So that's never good. And both of them had, some priors and some articles written about them. So both of them aren't impeccable. They had some beers, discussed written out Omega's living area. Omega brought out a semi-auto rifle. That's always, hey, you want to come over to my house? I'll let you rent my living room out for $1. You want some beer? Hey, look at this semi-automatic rifle. So a semi-auto rifle, that's interesting. So he's got a goddamn assault rifle. Omega's got an assault rifle. Ask if David shoots weapons. Omega proceeds to shoot the bottom of his own trailer door. Scares David's mom. She has to get a ride home. David's driving one of Omega's vehicles during a back and forth commute. And his vehicle starts to smoke. Omega gets angry. David and Omega begin to argue. Omega threatens to rape, burn, and kill David's mom. And kill David. So apparently they were... if this all happened in one day... a lot of fucking shit's happening, right? No, I just want to get out of here. Okay, all right, fine. Fine, you could drive it, but then he's getting angry, so is he driving it? David is somehow driving? I don't know. David attempts to walk away from the altercation. Attempts to walk away. So they're not driving at all now? Omega is ready to physically attack David. If he's ready, just because what? I had a person get mad at me because they said, oh, you know that look. There was no look. I was just looking at you. I was just looking at you. You know that look. I think the look is like you ain't shit, right? Just looking a person up and down. But looking at a person, to an insecure person, that could, you don't think I'm shit? How dare you make eye contact with me, boy? So, he says his assessment, David's quiet to himself, and that he was actually fearful for his mother's and his life. And so, therefore, it was self-defense. So, I don't know. If I'm on the jury, and I would love to be on any jury as a American citizen, to be a part, to do my civic duty. I would love to be a part, of this American system, to do my part as a citizen. So anyways, in lots of different ways, not just serve on a grand jury. I can, write grants. There's a whole bunch of shit I could do. Frankly, if Pueblo couldn't figure out what a passionate, we're a passionate progressive could. Anyways, okay, so, they got 10-step criminal procedure. And then there's a 12 jury. And then you have to have a unanimous verdict. All 12 jurors will have to agree on it. And then when the 12 jurors are looking at the situation, parsing out every single detail, listening to the tone and tenor of, how David DeLotta will probably have to testify. He don't have to. He's got a right to remain silent. But I feel like he kind of has to testify, don't he? Just, what the hell happened, man? What the hell happened, man? But just, anyway, so, I just want to read that because I thought that was an important piece of the case. And I'm trying to be as impartial as possible here. According to this, it seems, that Omega, so we can assume that David would say self-defense, but maybe Omega would say self-defense too. So threatening to rape and burn and kill, and then it's saying, okay, I'm just going to walk away. And then he's unaware if he had a weapon on him, and then he was ready to physically attack him. I don't know. If you're Omega's, one of his loved ones, you'd be outraged. The person just killed somebody you cared about, and now they're not there anymore. And that would suck. And so if there is foul play, then it would make sense to press charges and to pay attention to this case and make sure Omega gets some justice. If David DeLotta was on some bullshit. So there you go. There's an update.